everyone, this is Fragile Quasi. Welcome back to Excidio, the Kaiju simulator, where today I thought of doing our 700 subscribers special. Now, for those who don't know, we've been able to reach up to 700 subscribers, and hold on, let me check on my analysis again. Oh, we actually went above that. But yeah, we've been able to reach up to 700 subscribers up to this point, and we are still growing from the looks of things up to 709 at this moment. But yeah, we've been able to make it to the next milestone, and guys, I just want to give a huge thanks for all of your support. This really means a lot to me. Like, I could have never been able to do this without you guys. Like, without your support, this would have never happened. So again, huge thanks to all of you for your support. It really means a lot to me. And, whew, yeah, there's just so much to take in. Now, let me do a little bit of a clarification before we continue. So at first, I thought of doing another Q&A video where you guys can ask questions, I can then answer them on the video, but so far, I don't see any questions put on these posts. Like, I see that they're getting likes, that's good, but so far there's no questions of any kind. Oh yeah, there is one thing I forgot to mention. So, needless to say, I have a Discord server. That's right, just in case you ever want to chat with me on Discord, I'll leave a link down in the description below, that way you can visit on the server. But yeah, needless to say, I thought of doing that as part of our 700 subscriber special. That way we can still keep in touch, just in case you have any requests or any recommendations for the future. So yeah, just in case you ever want to visit, I'll leave a link down in the description below, that way you can check it out. As well as actually interact with others, just in case you ever have any ideas that you want to share with me. But yeah, just want to let you guys know before we continue. So, yeah, unfortunately, there's not going to be a Q&A video for today because, as far as I know, I don't see any questions of any kind, not on my Discord server, neither on the posts that I've been posting. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to happen for today. I'm really sorry, guys. But, of course, I'm not out of ideas just yet. There is another idea I thought of doing, and that is sharing some art with you guys concerning a few games I'm playing. And for this case, it will be Excidio, the Kaiju simulator. So, needless to say, the Kaiju simulator is still in early development. It's not fully released yet, and I've been thinking, we actually have only 3 Kaijus. We have Excidio, we have Raijin, and we have the Golem Titan, which are actually still good, by the way. Like, they are very powerful, they have different abilities, each one is very unique compared to the other. I've been thinking, what if there are more Kaijus that are implemented in the game? What will they be? What would they look like? How will they interact with the world? And that's where the thought came to me on creating some new Kaijus, some potential Kaijus for this upcoming game. So far, I've been able to come up with 6 different Kaijus, each one being different, each one having their own unique form, their own unique attacks, as well as each of them having their own lore. Each one being different, yada yada yada, I think you get the point. Basically, 6 different Kaijus, each one being different. So of course, without further ado, let's begin with our very first Kaiju. Look, up in the sky. Swooping down to the land below flies in Rhyvion, a gigantic ancient bird of legends capable of summoning thunderstorms with its deafening screech. While most Kaijus will reign on the lands below, this behemoth makes its domain high in the heavens above. For Rhyvion, I've been thinking more along the lines of bird-like Kaiju, more specifically Rodan. However, there are also other exceptions like Gios and Chemazots, but this is also based off the urban legend in North America, known as the Thunderbird. As for how it will move around, some would think that this will break the game because, well, obviously it's a bird and it has the ability to fly, but there is a way to make this balanced. Basically, we could treat this more as a visual effect rather than an actual effect, where for walking speed, it will just walk on its feet, either on bipedal stance or quadrupedal stance. However, as it runs, like a sprint move, this will give it the illusion of flying. Basically, it will flap its wings while it makes up to speed. However, it's not going to go higher or lower, it's going to remain just the same. For the attacks, I would imagine a few range attacks from this, more specifically wind and thundering attacks, where it can summon lightning from its beak, or maybe cause currents from its wings. As for its special, this is where it gets really interesting. It will summon a thunderstorm with a loud screech, and as long as it stays in this thunderstorm, which only lasts for a short period of time, its attacks will be boosted, capable of doing much more damage than it did before, as well as do a little bit of area damage from thunder strikes. So with that in mind, I present to you Rhyphion, our first bird kaiju of the genre. Now that we have our kaiju in the sky, let's make our way to the depths of the sea. From the depths of the ocean comes the terrible Leviathan Ursa Frost, a titanic bear-like whale having the strength of ice within its paws. With one breath, this dangerous force of nature freezes the land in glacial ice, where none are able to return. To make things worse, it freezes itself for protection from any outside forces, any kaiju that dares stand opposing to it, making it hard for many to send its heavy blizzard back to the ocean, from whence it came. For Ursa Frost, there weren't really a lot of kaiju examples that I base this off of, well, except for Shimo from the New Empire. But this is more based on trying to build an opposite force compared to Excidio, where Excidio mostly relies on fire attack moves, Ursa Frost relies on ice-based moves, while the main model is more so based off of mammalian attributes like whales and polar bears. In fact, one of these examples would be Leviathan. That's why you see the Ursa Frost having Leviathan teeth. As for how it will move, it won't really be that different compared to the other kaijus, except for one condition where when it runs, it'll actually run on all fours like a bear. For its attacks, it'll have many traits that'll be heavily based on ice. When enemies get caught in these attacks, instead of knocking them back like most other attacks, it'll actually freeze them into place. Well, this is more specifically for the energy type moves. This will bring a new spin on the game, making it much more interesting, as well as give you a little bit more strategic moves in the future. Now, you may have noticed that I've sketched a version where Ursa Frost doesn't have its ice armor. That's because it will actually start the game that way. For its special move, it will create an armor ice coat, which prevents it from getting damage from any outside forces until the armor is fully damaged. Now, of course, just like all specials, it does have its limits, so use this wisely. With both kaijus of sea and sky mentioned, now will be the time to bring a poisonous beast out of the jungle. From the shadows of the jungle swoops in a lethal bug, Insectoid, a large wasp-like monster having attributes where many insects can only dream of. Being built to take on other kaijus, Insectoid comes equipped with many sharp blades, from its limbs to the end of its tail, coated in venom that can bring down the kaiju if needed. However, that's not to say that it will eat other kaijus, for this creature craves smaller prey than it can catch in its webs. When you hear its wings flapping, you better get out of there, lest you become its next meal. For Insectoid, I heavily base this off of insect kaiju, and oh boy, there's actually a lot of examples. I'm surprised that Excidio didn't come to this idea yet. Like, a lot of examples will include Mothra, Batra, Megalon, Megaguirus, and Muto, and let's just name a few of them. For this kaiju in particular, I decided to bring all those attributes together, build them all into one, into the very own unique insect kaiju. As for how it will move, well, basically it's one of those rare cases where it always flies, but never lands. But once again, that could be limited because there are some games where they include Mothra and Batra where they always fly, but are still in range of other kaijus. So this can still be limited without breaking the game, similar to Rhyphion. So Insectoid is going to be one of those rare cases where it always flies, never lands, but still in range. For its attacks, this is going to be a rare case where it has a whole variety of attacks. It can send forth gusts of wind from the flap of its wings. It can shoot out webbing substance from its jaw, similar to Mothra. It can also sting their opponents with poison, which, depending on how much was applied, can do a significant amount of damage. It might not be strong, but does make up for it in speed and a whole plethora of attributes. His special move, admittedly, was actually a little bit tricky. Needless to say, it's really hard for me to think of a good special move for this particular kaiju. However, I ended up with the thought of creating an insect-like mist, basically a plank of insects that will do damage to any kaiju that dares go into the mist. And depending on how long the kaiju has been in there for, it's going to continue damaging it until it gets out of there or the plague has dispersed. Whew! Already we've been able to cover 3 kaijus at this point, but there are still 3 more that I need to mention. The first 3 were more based on natural beasts. Now it's time we take our way up to the stars. Many will say the stars above will hold many secrets. What many didn't know is that some secrets will make their way down to Earth. This is no different for Astragon, the astral dragon sent on a mission to kill and dispatch all kaijus that have grown too great for the Earth to handle. Made by extraterrestrial beings from beyond the solar system, this kaiju has many features and weapons that set it apart from other beasts. Radiational vision to help it find kaijus in any location. Solar beams to destroy all in its path. This mighty beast of the stars will hunt all kaijus, no matter where they are. For Astrocon, it is based on many kaijus that are often known as world invaders. Many examples that Astrocon is inspired from include King Ghidorah and Space Godzilla. This gave it its dragon-like body, like Ghidorah, while being decorated with crystals like Space Godzilla. To add more extraterrestrial to its design, I gave it radiational vision instead of eyes, which lore-wise they are able to sense radiation from other kaijus almost like thermal vision, where all other things are in the shadows, but the kaijus are pretty much as bright as day in these vision sensors, if you will. Also, I made it so that the wings will have star-shaped patterns on them to give it a more celestial vibe to it, while also having the wings shaped like a star while they are fully unfurled, giving it much more, once again, an extraterrestrial feeling. It'll almost be like a star sent from the heavens. As for how it will move, it'll be a mixture between Raytheon and Excidio, where when it walks, it will walk on 2 legs like Excidio, but while it sprints, it will fly with its wings like Raytheon. For its attacks, it will mostly rely on beam attacks for its energy attacks. That gives it a whole multitude of range attacks. It will shoot beams from its mouth, almost like a dragon, also from its wings, from its tail, maybe from its claws. There's a whole plethora of weapons that it can use. It might even shoot a couple of crystals out of its back, but I might digress on that. For its special move, this is where things get interesting. I thought of having it unfold its wings in the shape of a giant star, even as you see right here, and it lifts itself in the air. While it's doing this, it charges up a beam within the crystal ball found in the middle of its chest, which will then project out like a gigantic solar beam, targeting anything that it aims, more especially kaijus that are in the way. This will do significant damage, as well as give a very powerful ranged attack. How this kaiju was really fun to build, I will admit. While this one works a little bit more like a bounty hunter, there's another kaiju I'm going to share that's going to work a little bit more like a guardian. On to the next kaiju. Many mechs have been sent to take down these kaijus, but they all have been easily outmatched. Man is now in a state of despair, wondering what to do in this hour of horror. However, like a miracle sent from above, a team of kaiju hunters came up with a solution that allows them to fight similar to the existing kaijus that live among them. From their brainstorm of ideas, they came up with a mech unlike any other, having a strong stature like Excidio, equipped with deadly weapons and tools like Rajit, and having stable footing like the Golem Titan. From their hard work, Exidicon was created. For Exidicon, a heavily bases off of man-made machinery, designed specifically to hunt down kaijus and protect its citizens, similar to Kiryu Godzilla and Pacific Rim Yangers found on media. It bears a striking resemblance of Excidio in facial features and body build, but as you can see, it is equipped with a whole arsenal of weaponry. Foldable blades, missile launchers, foldable back cannons, that's just to name a few of them. And you also can see it has a drill claw tail, an ion cannon from its jaw, as well as some torso missile launchers, which I'll get to in a moment. With full weapons at its arsenal, this machine is built to take down any kaiju that it comes across. Now, of course, as it will move, it pretty much will be the same as Excidio, just based on its own movement. Really not that different compared to all the other kaijus. For its attacks, however, it's going to rely very heavily on ranged attacks, more specifically, missile launching attacks. Arm missiles, it could use its cannons, and it also could use its ion cannon, which again, found in the jaw. It also has foldable blades and a drill claw. There's a whole plethora of weapons it can use. For its special attack, this is where those torso missiles come into play. It will unleash all of its missiles on a specific target. Basically, it will target one specific target, one kaiju, even if other kaijus are in the way, and it will do a significant amount of damage. Basically, as you expect, a whole plethora of missiles, that's going to do a lot of damage. Now, I think this kaiju is made to be more like a saver of the city, rather than a destroyer. This means it could be a potential game changer where instead of destroying the cities, your mission is to just take down kaijus and try to repair the city with all the damage that has been happening. In fact, these helper drones found on the side of it are designed specifically to help with that role. But also, they could be used as another additional attack, where they could be summoned and attack all sorts of kaijus that are around them. Basically, they're sent to help out with civilization. And speaking of guardians, there's just one more kaiju that I want to show. And oh boy, this one, compared to the others, has a whole story all on its own. The kaijus have been destroying this world for far too long. Many people had suffered much loss because of them. Many have even prayed for a guardian angel to bring justice to these beasts that left them all in a state of despair. Luckily for them, their prayers have been answered, for Yokai Ryu, the spirit dragon, emerging from the heavens, has made its way to Earth to fend off these ruthless beasts and send them back to the worlds from whence they came. Yokai Ryu, which actually combines the words yokai and Ryu, which are both Japanese for spirit and dragon respectively, is based on spirits that are often called to protect those in need of protection. One example of this from the kaiju genre would be King Caesar, found in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. But the main inspiration for this kaiju, apart from that, would be the Eastern dragons and Nagas. Eastern dragons are often known as guardians of the rain, while Nagas are known to be giant serpents that are protectors of rivers. Both legendary beasts are known to be guardians, and that's why I hope to incorporate in this creature. As for how it will move very similar to, as you might expect, an Eastern dragon, where it will fly off the ground in a graceful manner. Of course, the only time where it will stand on its feet is when it is idle. When it's moving, it will always jump off the ground and once again fly in the air. Now, for its attacks, I thought of it being based more on a storm dragon and also a water dragon, which are basically what Eastern dragons are. They defend the waters and the storms. This is mostly going to rely heavily on lightning that can shoot from its mouth as well as from its horns. And also, along with that, it will also summon waters like waves that will push away the enemies, which will do heavy knockback, even though it might not do a lot of damage. And also, it could charge itself with lightning. That way it becomes stronger every turn. Also, it will use its horn to send a projector beam towards its opponents after being charged by lightning. As for its special move, I thought of it being able to summon a great flood that will cover the battlefield. This flood will cause all enemies to slow down, and if the dragon decides to launch a lightning attack while the enemies are in the flood, it will do more damage than normal, making the flood a dangerous zone to be in for all the enemies of this kaiju. Now before we end the episode, there is something I need to confess concerning my final kaiju. The previous 5 are original designs, but the final kaiju might look somewhat familiar, at least the head of the kaiju. That's because I actually based the head on a design that I've seen in-game, which I promise I did not know beforehand before I went on the sketch. Let me explain. On the second episode of the series where I played all the maps for the very first time, one of the pictures that I found in New Kaiju York stood out to me. This one. The reason being is because at first, I initially thought that this is a reference to an upcoming kaiju, like potentially a dragon of some kind. So, being a little bit inspired, I went to the sketching board after I've done my playthrough, like seconds after I've done recording. However, after I'd done a little bit of sketching, I was presented with a comment that did talk about the same poster. Apparently, the one who commented on the poster was apparently the original designer of that kaiju, Coco, who actually designed the kaiju, which is actually an Azura named Nagara. So in case you actually do want to check out more of Nagara and what Nagara is, go check out Coco's channel. It will mean so much to him. So yeah, I just want to let that out of my chest before you get any angry faces. I know this is someone else's kaiju. I'm really sorry. I promise I did not know what it was while I was sketching. So I did make a few adjustments, like the horn, for example, just so it makes it a little bit more original, if you will. So I just want to let that out of my chest. Again, really sorry, but I hope you still like it nonetheless. And there you guys have it. All 6 kaijus fully explained. Now, admittedly, this is not really that easy to do because not only do I have to design the kaijus, I have to keep them simplified, that way they're reskin friendly. That's because, of course, Excidio has reskins for each of their kaijus, and I need to do the same for this one. Like, for example, for Raytheon, it is a Thunderbird, but you could adjust a new skin to where it may look like a phoenix, or an ice bird, or maybe just an ordinary bird, however you prefer. Also the same for Ursa Frost, where you can either adjust it to ice, or maybe to volcano, fire, or maybe rock. Like, the options are still there. Like, I try to keep them all simplified as much as possible. Like, I think the hardest one would be Excidio, but that's just my guess. And also, now that we reach the end, now I want to hear from you guys. Is any of these your favorite? Which one would you prefer on adjusting? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your suggestions. Like, which one's your favorite, which one you want in the game, or which one, if you want to change, will you change? I would love to hear any of those down below, just in case you have any suggestions. Now, before we end, again, I want to give you all a huge thanks for your support. This really means so much to me. And if you want to, you can check my Discord link down in the description below, just in case you want to visit on Discord. So, with that, I'm here to bring the video to the end. I'll see you guys again soon. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, feel free to join me on our next venture. Till then, this is Dragon Questy. See you later!